Thank you, Ron. Really appreciate you inviting us to speak at this Angelbeat event. We're really excited to cover today's topic, which is how can security keep pace with the digital transformation that's happening in this new multi-cloud and hybrid world we live in. So Armor is a security company that deals with these issues on a day-to-day basis, and we're here to share some of the insights that we've learned over the years and some of our case studies of how we've helped customers and other partners of ours achieve those goals. A little bit about me, even though the least important part of the presentation. I'm the VP of Product and Product Evangelist here at Armor, responsible for product vision, strategy, product culture, how we bring to life the security experience that we've built today. I have my Ph.D. in Mass Media and Communications from the European Graduate School, and excited to speak with you today. We're going to cover a couple of topics because we want to keep this fairly short, technical, to the point, but we're going to talk a little bit about what is the digital transformation that's taking place today? Why does it present such security challenges for teams within the cloud? And how can Armor use its platform and its technology to help keep its customers and their applications and data secure? Cover a few takeaways and then open it up for any questions that people might have. And we have some resources for you as a follow-up to this. As everybody's well aware, you wouldn't be at this presentation if you weren't. The cloud is incredibly transformative of our society, our technologies, our businesses, and our business models. And a lot of times people think of the cloud as an all or nothing thing. You're either in it or you're not, and it's kind of a decision that we just make one day as a company. We find that's not true. The cloud is a journey, and we're still on that journey. And this is what this Gartner shows, is that everybody thinks that the cloud is a dominant force, and it is, but it's something that people are on a path to, and it's something that you cannot ignore the journey that people have to go through in order to take advantage of some of the transformative effects of the cloud. So we saw this, when the cloud kind of first appeared in 2007 of how can I start up my development costs cheaper, faster, at scale? As people started realizing that it was, they started transforming their business models to be more in line with OpEx versus CapEx, and the way cloud caused people to transform their sales motions to more product-led growth strategies. And then companies started reinventing themselves kind of completely, whether it was the way in which they deliver their content and business models, the way in which they hosted all of this architecture. And really now, just now, the cloud is kind of at a phase of dominance, particularly given kind of the influx of COVID over the last few years, has pushed that forward significantly. The impact of this is that businesses are in multiple clouds based on what workloads make the most sense. So you might go to Google for data analytics because they're really good at big data. You might go to AWS for your basic web hosting needs. You might go to Azure for some stuff that you need to utilize your enterprise licenses for. But multiple people are still deployed in hybrid and multi-cloud environments, and that creates complexity for them as they try and secure those environments, because what you do on-prem versus the cloud is different. And so far in the security industry, vendors have kept those technologies, detection technologies, different. So there's a lot of complexity in the multitude of cloud environments and the visibility that you need across these different cloud architectures. And this has impacted the security industry as well. Previously, where MSPs served kind of an SMB customer, they're now moving up market to the enterprises as this complexity has increases, because enterprise teams can no longer staff appropriately to handle all of the challenges that come with these different environments. Even if they have the tools to detect in these environments, they have to deal with vendor fatigue, alert fatigue. And so, you're seeing some of that transition either out to more and more service providers, or those service providers even adopting new technologies such as security as a service platforms, cloud workload protection platforms, not only to address the new cloud use cases, but also to address the business pressure that the cloud has put on some of the security technologies. Previously, security technologies were all CapEx, large expenditures over the course of 5 years. They were appliances that you'd have to install. Well, that's not how the cloud has forced buyers to think about technology. They want it software delivered. They want it instantaneously. They want to deploy at scale. And so security technologies have started to adapt to that, whether it's becoming SaaS kind of delivered, whether it is using platforms to deliver services so they can do that at scale within their customers. But the cloud has really transformed how we have to look at security as part of that conversation. And what Armor finds is that in kind of this multi-cloud, hybrid cloud world, the best way to think about securing those environments is that everything's a workload that needs to be secured. The applications, the data within those environments, your IP as a business is a workload that you can think about protecting. And how you have to protect that workload will ultimately change based on, whereas on-prem, you had all of your stack to manage, which meant you had to have security controls at each of those different layers, as well as you had kind of a guarded castle that you could kind of build security controls in that way. Well, as you move to the cloud, the shared responsibility model takes into effect, and you lose control of some of those systems that you have access to, which shrinks your attack surface in a way, but it means you have to be hyper-focused on those areas that you're still responsible for and secure them in different ways. Same with IaaS versus PaaS, right? IaaS, you had the ability to install security detection technology on the host, whereas platform as a service offerings take that host away from you. So when you think about kind of securing those environments, it's a little bit of a different conversation than it was in past years as we thought about that. So when Armor thinks about, all of the digital transformation and the pace at which it's happening, we, think of the security challenges that come with it. The first one, and probably one of the largest ones for companies, is talent shortages. This is true in not only cloud and DevOps, but security specifically, where you either can't find the talent, can't retain the talent, or security is not your business as a retailer, as a government agency, as an education institution. And so you generally haven't had to have the subject matter experts on staff to combat these threats. But attacks are increasing. They're increasingly attacking the mid-market because there's money now to be made in those mid-market businesses of critical infrastructure, school. We see this every day in the news with the latest ransomware attacks, and those are only going to accelerate due to work from home and COVID, because now people are outside of this corporate network that's kind of fictional these days, doesn't exist. And so when that perimeter is destroyed, how do you begin protecting? And then the industry is complex. We've covered kind of environmental complexity, multi-cloud hybrid, architectural complexity with IaaS, PaaS, SaaS. Maybe you're using containers, maybe you're using serverless. Maybe that changes year to year as your teams adopt new technologies that the clouds make available to them. But the security vendors in the compliance industry haven't necessarily done you any favors either. We've sell based on point tools rather than kind of use case solutions that can evolve with you. There's a new compliance law every single day that you have to pay attention to, or a new security regulatory standard. There is, a kind of a situation that, cloud, right, and how security companies address that, changing their business models from OpEx to CapEx are going to affect those things. And so for the cloud CISO today, we see talent shortages in DevOps security, a vendor overload of point solutions that I've bought and are now in my stable of things, and a company that is innovating, selling more globally, more distributed. And so as a CISO, how do I keep rate with that pace of innovation, but still handle all of this complexity I have on the architecture side? For us, the way to think about that is security in the cloud is not necessarily a technology problem, but an operations problem. Because in a world of, infinite budgets, in a world where I know my use cases, I can go pick the best container security tool, the best endpoint security tool, the best cloud configuration management tool. But that's what led me to the situation I am today, where I have 75 tools, not enough people to run them. Even if I have people to run them, I can't make sense of the data coming from it because it's too much. And so the act of taking security from detection to incident response and what I should actually do to deliver those outcomes of security and compliance really is one of operations scale, how I take advantage of cloud technologies. And the cloud also presents unique challenges in that, not only do you have to have the proper security controls and detection technology, but it's a new technology. We're humans, we all make mistakes. And so you have to prevent against both accidental and intentional risk within your environment, misconfigurations, S3 buckets being left open to the world. While attacks are increasing at an asymmetrical kind of level, a lot of those attacks are able to leverage flaws in the supply chain. Somebody misconfiguring permissions on a box or leaving a port open to the world. And so securing that data in the public cloud, those workloads, those applications is going to be incredibly important. So when Armor thinks about how we've done this or helped our customers and partners do this, we think there's a couple of key pieces that are important to securing your environments at the rate of change that you need to keep pace with digital transformation. The first principle is that you have to have visibility across all of your environments, architectures, detection points, in order to get the visibility you need to run a comprehensive program. If you can only gain visibility into one cloud or one particular tool and detection coming from it, then you're going to lose the race because you won't be able to hire enough people. You don't have enough money to manage those situations. There's a lot of operational overhead and complexity. So we have to find a way of bringing together our data from our workloads, our end user environments, our clouds, our on-prem, our containers, our networks, and bring all of that visibility into a single interface or a single portal where our limited resources can take action on it, can make sense of that data, aren't overwhelmed by the types of alerts coming in, etc. We also think that there's an important couple of considerations. Cloud, non-cloud, doesn't matter. You still have to protect against intentional and accidental risk within those environments, and the outcome has to be, I'm not breached and I remain compliant against any regulatory body or standard that I need to. What changes, though, for solutions in a multi-cloud and hybrid cloud world are a little bit of how they're delivered, how they help scale with you, how they evolve with you through all of this pace of change. So flexibility, speed to deployment, OpEx versus CapEx, being able to use utility billing versus contracted or term billing, the ability to gain visibility across all of your environments. These are the things that become important in the cloud world. And I think that what you're going to see, you're already seeing it within security, and this is the direction Armor's heading, is a lot of consolidation into security platforms. So we already today have platforms that run our social experiences in Facebook, our sales ops program with Salesforce. We have, platforms that we interact with on a daily life because they integrate experiences that are important to a common outcome and theme. They also can offer kind of economies of scale. They can, leverage and evolve with you, because instead of buying a point tool that just solves one thing, platforms can have additional features, modules, use cases that evolve with you. So even if digital transformation keeps accelerating, you're only investing in a singular technology, a singular platform that can keep pace with that change, and you can rely on experts, whether they're MSPs, technology vendors like Armor, those outsourced security experts to do the hard work for you, which is what tools get me the best technology, how is the MITRE attack evolving, and what framework should I be involved in, and then bring this all together from tool detection, use case, to normalizing and aggregating, making sense of data, correlating it, so we're taking out all of those alert fatigue, false positives. We're giving you what you should actually respond to, because that's what your team can do, and then get back to running your business. Our solution for that is called Armor Anywhere, which is kind of the name which it seems. So we're anywhere you are, we can provide streamlined threat detection, response, compliance, all in a singular solution that addresses the different use cases, configuration management, end user behavior, network capabilities, what's happening on the host, to gain visibility into hybrid and multi-cloud environments. Here's an architecture of somebody in AWS, but also leveraging some of our capabilities in Azure. But as you can see, they not only have multi-cloud visibility, but they have defense in depth at the hosting layer, the orchestration layer, the image layer, the network layer, the cloud layer, with all of the cloud logs. And those are the benefits, whether it is kind of that platform model that helps me reduce my costs, whether it's the reduction of false positives so the few people I do have can actually do their jobs, whether it's the ability to gain visibility across all my environments. These are the things that security companies need to promise you and deliver to you in today's world. So if I could leave you all with 3 big takeaways: cloud has absolutely changed everything. I think you need to think about securing your workloads in these complex environments against accidental and intentional threats. Remember, hard part of security is not always technology. It's certainly an operations problem, but you can use the cloud, you can use security platforms, you can use some of these technologies to your advantage to build security, continuous security and compliance programs into your business. So we do have a few resources for you. We have a dark market report that says all about what happens if people do get a hold of your data. You can certainly request a demo of our solution, but we also have some security insight and threat reports that give you some insight into what we see on a daily basis attacking our customer and partner base. So Ron, I'll turn it back to you, and any questions that maybe people wanted $10 for.
Got it. I'm going to check this. All right. So could you maybe talk a little briefly about, and this is for Andrew, who's with a major financial institution, what are some of the talking points that individuals are concerned from a security standpoint of having, because as I commented before, in a financial institution, those bits and bytes are real money. And so maybe you can comment on that. And what we'll also do, in addition to giving Andrew his $10 credit, you could cover some highlights, and we'll also put you in touch with Andrew, because obviously every institution's different, but maybe you could touch on that same issue, because we've got a number of people, and Andrew is with a major credit union, which may not necessarily have the same level of in-house skills that, let's say, a Chase Manhattan Bank has.
Yeah. Certainly. So I think the number one concern we get from financial institutions and credit unions is, how does security relate to compliance? I know I have to be PCI compliant because I have to protect cardholder data, but is that enough from a security stance or posture perspective for me to just check the box and be good, or do I need to do more? And unfortunately, you do have to do more. Compliance is a great first step. It's a great way of abstracting some good security controls to the general public and best practices. But like you said, Ron, every environment is unique. You have unique architectures, environments that you're deploying in, and you're not only going to have to modify those compliance kind of standards to you, but you're going to have to think of other unique security controls to have in place whether it's vulnerability management or file integrity monitoring to make sure files aren't changing. But the number one attack that I would say financial institutions, everyone is concerned with these days is ransomware. It's just the most prevalent, particularly against that mid-market consumer, because they don't have the security teams, they don't have the detections deployed, they don't have an EDR solution on their laptops. So in today's distributed, fragmented world, we really think that those endpoint protection platforms are going to become increasingly important to protect against ransomware attacks.
That's great. And actually, I want to thank you, Ryan. Joseph, I'm going to try and get to your question about what keeps everyone up at night, but the comments on ransomware, everyone's heard about what's going on in the news. I'm going to bring up our next speaker, which is a logical segue. I'm going to now make SHIVA from Haiku our next speaker, and thank Ryan and the Armor team for doing such a great introduction. Haiku is a valuable tool more in the data protection, disaster recovery, data resiliency world. And SHIVA, if you could start sharing your screen now, one of the major solutions that Haiku offers is very much if you do get attacked, and that's why you only hear about companies who miss Angelbeat in the news. When you come to Angelbeat, you stay out of the news, because SHIVA will share with you not only their platform for general disaster recovery backup, but how this is the valuable tool to not pay Bitcoin, but use Haiku. All yours, SHIVA. And thanks again, Ryan. And I'm going to turn off my camera, and I'll ask Ryan to do the same. Okay, perfect.
All right, thank you, Ron. Just to do a quick audio and a video check, are you able to hear me clearly and see my screen?
Yes, just put it on presentation mode.
Absolutely.
Perfect, all yours.